Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriye. Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtike. So continuing with the discussion on Krishna book or Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 87, prayers by the personified Vedas. So Prabhupada further writes, Krishna advises everyone just to surrender unto him alone, and that is the way of Vedic instruction. Since Krishna is a cause of all causes, he is worshipped by all kinds of sages and saints through observance of the regulative principles. As far as meditation is concerned, great personalities meditate on the transcendental form of Krishna within the heart. In this way, the minds of great personalities are always engaged in Krishna. With their minds engaged in Krishna, naturally the captivated devotees simply talk of Krishna. So the center point of everything should be Krishna. Meditation, worship, devotion, everything. Center point should be Krishna. And this is what Krishna wants. Krishna says, Sarva dharman pariteja mam ekam vraja. Just surrender unto me alone. Talking of Krishna or singing of Krishna is called Kirtan. Lord Chaitanya recommends Kirtanya Sadahari, which means always thinking and talking of Krishna and nothing else. And of course, talking or singing favorably, that is bhakti, not unfavorably. That is called Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is so sublime that anyone who takes to this process is elevated to the highest perfection of life, far, far beyond the concept of liberation. So sublime, Prabhupada says. So sublime means it's very potent, but at the same time, we cannot put it cannot be felt by our senses. It's like that. But it's very, very potent. In the Bhagavad Gita, therefore, Krishna advises everyone always to think of him, render devotional service to him, worship him, and offer obeisances to him. Man manabha madbhakto madayaji mam namaskar. In this way, a devotee becomes fully Krishnized, and being always situated in Krishna consciousness, ultimately goes back to Krishna. So this should be our goal of life. Nothing else. Nothing else. Everything else is superficial. It has no value, no meaning. Not even making lots of money and getting a big position here or there. That's not what is required. Of course, that we can use everything in the service of Krishna. That is okay, but that cannot be the goal. Goal is to become Krishna conscious. Although the Vedas have recommended worship of different demigods as different parts and parcels of Krishna, it is to be understood that such instructions are meant for less intelligent men who are still attracted by material sense enjoyment. But the person who actually wants perfect fulfillment of the mission of human life should simply worship Lord Krishna, and that will simplify the matter and completely guarantee the success of his human life. And also, as mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, any people generally worship demigods to get some material benefit. And as Prabhupada said, who are still attracted by material sense enjoyment. But Krishna says whatever demigod, whatever results one gets from demigods, basically comes from him only. So even if somebody wants material benedictions, one should worship only Krishna. That's it. Although the sky, the water, and the land are all part of the material world, when one stands on the solid land, his position is more secure than when he stands in the sky or the water. An intelligent person, therefore, does not stand under the protection of different demigods, although they are part and parcel of Krishna. Rather, he stands on the solid ground of Krishna consciousness. That makes his position sound and secure. So ultimately, Krishna is the resting place of everything. Even Brahma Jyoti rests on Krishna. What to speak of demigods? So, but people here in the material world forget about demigod. They would rather line up to pay obeisances or to get something from higher or richer or powerful people. Forget about demigod. They line up for politicians or industrialists or some rich person. Rather, just worship Krishna. One should only worship Krishna. At the same time, one should not disrespect anybody. Even a rich person in the material world, of course, he has done plenty of pious activities to be rich in this lifetime. And in this lifetime also, he has worked hard. So that way, yes, one should respect him, one should honor him, but worshipping is only for Krishna. Ultimately, if Krishna wants to give us something, it is also said that Krishna has thousands of hands, and he showed that in the universal form to Arjuna. So if Krishna wants to give us something with 1,000 hands, how much we can take with our 2 hands? At the same time, if Krishna wants to take away with his 1,000 hands, how much we can save with our 2 hands? So ultimately, it's all Krishna. Impersonalists sometimes give the example that if one stands on a stone or a piece of wood, one certainly stands on the surface of the land, because the stone and wood both rest on the surface of the earth. But it may be replied that if one stands directly on the surface of the earth, he is more secure than if he stands on wood or a stone that rests on earth. So obviously, if we are standing on land, we're more secure than if there is a big rock and we are standing on that rock. In other words, taking shelter of Paramatma or taking shelter of impersonal Brahman is not as secure a course as taking direct shelter of Krishna in Krishna consciousness. Because taking direct shelter of Krishna in Krishna consciousness, as Prabhupada, it's more secure. More secure in the sense, it has more bliss, obviously, and at the same time, we get mercy of Krishna, protection of Krishna. The position of the jnanis and yogis is therefore not as secure as the position of the devotees of Krishna. So that we have seen in Bhagavatam, like when Maharaj Amrish was there and Durvasa Muni somehow got offended, but Durvasa Muni tried to hurt Maharaj Amrish. He could not. Although Durvasa Muni was a big yogi, and Amrish Maharaj was also a king and he is a devotee. So Prahlad Maharaj and Hiranyakashipu could not do any harm to Prahlad Maharaj because he was a devotee. Lord Krishna has therefore advised in the Bhagavad Gita that only a person who has lost his sins takes to the worship of demigods. And regarding persons attached to the impersonal Brahman, Srimad Bhagavatam says, "My dear Lord, those who think of themselves as liberated by mental speculation are not yet purified of the contamination of material nature because of their inability to find the shelter of your lotus feet. Although they rise to the transcendental situation of existence in the impersonal Brahman, they certainly fall from that exalted position because they derived your lotus feet. Aruya krichrin parampada patanti yada. Means those who don't take shelter of a lotus feet, no matter how high and whatever position they go to, even Brahm Jyoti, from there also they fall down. Because that position is not secure in the sense, there is no, first of all, there is no support or shelter of lotus feet. And then, if philosophically speaking, the happiness is there, but the bliss of the association or being in the presence of Krishna is not there. So, soul, because it cannot go above from that position, it's not qualified, not eligible yet, so it comes down. Lord Krishna therefore advises that the worshippers of the demigods are not very intelligent persons because they derive only temporary, exhaustible results. Their endeavors are those of less intelligent men. On the other hand, the Lord assures that his devotee has no fear of falling. Konte pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. His devotee has no fear of falling. Krishna is always there to protect and take him back. Even if he commits some sin and then he falls down, Krishna is always there to purify him, to rectify him, and take him back. Like we read in the story of Ajamil. All because he did in the beginning of his life or when he was a little young, he performed some devotion service. And then although when he got in contact with this prostitute and committed many, many sinful activities. But because he had done devotion service earlier, he got this benediction by some sadhus that name your child as Narayan. And then he was so attached to Narayan, every day he was chanting the names of Narayan. Not even thinking that he's calling Narayan, he was only thinking he's calling his son. But still, he got purified. And bhakti is something that can be done at any time, every day, whole day. Like we are eating prasadam, that is also bhakti. We are reading something, that is also bhakti. Yogis cannot say we are eating, that is yoga. We are doing hatha yoga by eating something. No. We go outside, we are driving in the car thinking of Krishna, going to the temple or going to buy something for Krishna. That's all bhakti. But yogis and jnanis, they cannot claim that. So bhakti is very sublime and very easy to perform. Of course, coming to the level of pure devotional service, it takes time, takes practice. But we can perform bhakti anytime, at any whole day. It's so easy. Bhakti is not only just when we sit in front of the Lord and do kirtan, that is only bhakti. Tomorrow is Gundicha Marjan Day. So I request everybody to at least tomorrow clean up the temples in your houses, homes, and clean up the house also, because ultimately it's a house of the Lord. And so this is bhakti. Mahaprabhu himself showed by his example. When he was cleaning the Gundicha temple and led all the devotees in cleaning first and then bringing water and washing the whole ceiling, walls, and the Ratna Singhasan where Lord Jagannath was going to come and sit. This was completely bhakti. This is how easy it is to perform bhakti. The personified Vedas continue to pray. Dear Lord, considering all points of view, if a person has to worship someone superior to himself, then just out of good behavior, he should stick to the worship of a lotus feet because you are the ultimate controller of creation, maintenance, and dissolution. You're the controller of the three worlds, Bhu, Bhuva, Swaha. You're the controller of the 14 upper and lower worlds, and you're the controller of three material qualities. So, means he is a controller. Controller means he is not into any of this. He's not under three material qualities, and he doesn't. Even though he appears in this material world, but he's not from these 14 upper and lower worlds. He's beyond that. Demigods and persons advance in spiritual knowledge always hear and chant about your transcendental pastimes, because this process has a specific potency of nullifying the accumulated results of sinful life. Intelligent persons factually dip into the ocean of your nectarian activities and very patiently hear about them. So even demigods, persons advanced in spiritual knowledge, they always hear and chant about your pastimes. Intelligent persons dip into the ocean of your nectarian activities. Ocean of your nectarian activities. So such a huge ocean, we can only imagine how big an ocean is. If somebody takes a dip, he gets all wet, and if it is ocean of nectar, then nobody wants to even get out of it. This is how his activities are described, nectarian, and very patiently hear about them. Doesn't want to lose a chance of hearing about his nectarian pastimes. Thus, they are immediately freed from the contamination of the material qualities. Material qualities, contamination of the material qualities make us do what? Make us more lusty, greedy for material possessions. These things immediately go away, because if one is hearing and relishing the nectarian pastimes, and by doing what? Dipping into the ocean of nectarian activities. So in front of those, that bliss, what is a quotient of bliss of material prosperity or material achievements? Nothing. This is temporary, and at the same time hardly gives any pleasure. But the bhakti part, especially hearing and chanting, gives unlimited pleasure. Anand Ambudhi Vardhanam. It's an ocean of bliss, and which is always increasing. Sometimes people ask that why I'm not experiencing that bliss while I'm chanting and sitting down and listening. Because right now, if we have this disease of jaundice, so the disease of jaundice is that even if a person is given sugar candy, it tastes very bitter to him. But the remedy of disease of jaundice is to keep on giving him sugar candy. So we have this jaundice of ignorance, jaundice of thinking I can enjoy materially. I don't want anything else. So when we have this disease of jaundice, only remedy is keep on tasting, keep on eating this sugar candy of Krishna's name, Krishna Katha. And slowly, this disease will go away when we'll start tasting. And the taste of Krishna Katha, Krishna Nam is so much. And we all have experienced this during Nirjala Ekadashi. Everybody sat down and chanted so many rounds. It was very motivating to see 150 rounds, 200 rounds, 216 rounds. Amazing energy was flowing. And it cannot happen if one is not tasting it, one is not finding happiness in it. It cannot happen. Nobody forced anybody. Nobody put a gun on anybody's head that you had to sit down and chant. We were all, Radha Prabhu was motivating everybody on phone only. But this cannot happen if we are not tasting the bliss or relishing the nectar. Without eating, without drinking anything and chanting whole day, it's not easy. But by mercy of Krishna, Krishna's name, not different from Krishna, everything is possible. And this is what Prabhupada says. Thus, they are immediately freed from the contamination of the material qualities. And they do not have to undergo severe penances and austerities for advancement in spiritual life. And they means who are enjoying the ocean of your nectarian activities. This chanting and hearing of your transcendental pastimes is the easiest process for self-realization. Nothing else is required. No severe penances and austerities to go to Himalayas, live in the caves. Nothing is required. Just sit at home and chant and hear. That's all. Simply by submissive oral reception of the transcendental message, one's heart is cleansed of all dirty things. Cheto darpanam marjanam. It will happen. Simply by submissive, not by arrogant, not thinking I know everything. I don't know anything. Oral reception of the transcendental message. That's all. This is what Parikshit Maharaj did. He just sat there 7 days, 7 nights. He just heard Bhagavatam, or he is hearing Bhagavatam right now. Bhagavatam is still going on. So this is what he did. Submissive hearing, not in a challenging mode. He asked questions, many, many questions he asked. And Shukdev Goswami answered all of them. But he never challenged Shukdev Goswami. So one's heart is cleansed of all dirty things. So dirty things means the anarthas. Kam, krodha, lobha, moh, mad, matsarya. Our heart is as black as coal because of all these dirty anarthas and the desires accumulated over millions and millions of lifetimes. It's there. But by hearing, by chanting, all this anarthas, they run away, they go away. One place in Bhagavatam it is mentioned, it's just like when a lion enters a dark cave, all the animals, whether foxes or whatever, whoever, deers or monkeys, whoever is there, they all run away from that cave because king is here. So similarly, when we chant, although our heart is very dirty, dark, but Krishna is not different from his name. When we chant, and if we try to chant with some attention, sincerity, then Krishna enters into our heart. And he doesn't have to do anything. All anartha, they just run away, just seeing Krishna being there. Krishna doesn't have to kick them out. They just run away. But we have to do submissive hearing and chanting. Thus, Krishna consciousness becomes fixed in the heart of a devotee. The great authority Bhishma Dev has also given the opinion that this process of chanting and hearing about the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the highest religious process. It's not like we have to do lots of yagyas or do this, tapasya, that, nothing. It's the highest religious process. Ishmadev says, he's a Mahajan. And the Taittiriya Upanishad says that worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the essence of all Vedic ritualistic performances. There's nothing else one needs to do. Deity worship and every other process that Prabhupada gave us is basically to help concentrate on our mind on Krishna. And that way we can, it helps in our hearing and chanting Krishna's names, Krishna Katha. Whether it is deity worship, whether it is Sankirtan, whether it's cooking for the deities, whether it is cleaning for the deities, whether it is collecting money for the deities, whatever. Most important aspect is hearing and chanting and rest. Everything helps in surrendering to Krishna, or it helps in hearing and chanting better. So all these processes, everything is there. Prabhupada has given us full package. All we have to do is follow it properly. Although it's a long chapter, long purpose, a very, very important purpose. Prabhupada, and the way Prabhupada has mentioned, Prabhupada has described everything. It's very simple and very nice too. And this whole chapter, it basically sums up everything that we need to know. Okay, so I guess I can stop there. See anybody has any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much for this class. It was
Hare
very,
Krishna,
very much nice.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Chalo, I guess we can stop here. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.